So today we're going to be speaking about hosted phone systems, how they can be used into a hybrid workplace, especially as things start getting back to some kind of normal, people start returning to the office, how hosted phone systems can improve efficiency, customer service, and to reduce cost ultimately. So Ram, we'll start with you, if we may. So many businesses have been through the sudden introduction of home working over the past year or so. What challenges have businesses faced with their communication with their phone systems when working from home?
Okay, Fraser. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think that first of all, the first question that was asked was, you can imagine, can't you, in every business, they get around a board table or sit in an office and go, does our phone system even support home working? And if the answer was no, they had very little time to choose a solution they thought was right for their business. I think there's three main stakeholders were affected in the sudden transition to home working, and they were the ones that really got hit with the challenges faced. I think there was an IT manager, which I'll look at and I'll touch upon. I think there was the business owner, and there was the employee that was sat at home working along. For the IT manager, it was pretty much an overnight decision to move from a controlled environment to an unknown environment, and not just a single unknown environment, but lots of unknown environments for each individual employee of the business. Which meant, how did they implement and remotely manage their phone system for everyone? What restrictions were on multiple users, home workers, the ISP routers, and how did they overcome them? If their staff were using a fixed handset, like lots of them probably were, how did they connect that to the router? How did they make that work? The big one, and certainly one that we'll probably touch upon a number of times on this call, is what was the quality of the Wi-Fi, and was it good enough to be able to support a VoIP call? And on top of all those problems, they had limited visibility to be able to diagnose faults and support the teams, which, for the IT manager or the IT department in a larger company, it must have been a really stressful time. So I think we really need to take our hat off to a lot of IT, IT experts within businesses. And then we look at the business owners. So business owners were being asked for the sudden transition when COVID-19 struck to invest money into their telephony at a likely uncertain time for them and their business. They had limited visibility to report on productivity and efficiency. They had to trust their team to work professionally whilst overcoming real life challenges, like Toby, my bulldog, who will come in every half an hour and want a stroke or some attention. And I think, certainly speaking with a lot of other business owners, the knowledge gap is a real concern. And how can they overcome that knowledge gap using telephony as an instrumental piece of their technology? One of the key stakeholders is the employee working from home. Wi-Fi is an everyday conversation that I seem to find myself having. The average household has between 9 and 11 Wi-Fi devices. The average household in the UK in 2020. So when you add that on top of potential bandwidth issues, you might have one of your child doing 4K gaming on the Xbox or PC. You might have your daughter streaming 4K Netflix. You've got both parents home working, whether that be video calling or on a VoIP call, and you've got all these other devices connected. There's going to be issues. And then when you relate that back to the IT manager, how does he diagnose them with the minimal visibility? And I think one that was certainly overlooked was the compulsory requirement to embrace technology. If you take my imaginary friend Peter, who's 63, he's a solicitor. He's always had a phone on his desk and he's always had a mobile in his hand. And now he's just been sent home with a laptop client and a headset and told to plug in and crack on. They were challenges. So, lots of different challenges faced when working from home. And I think they're the three key stakeholders that were heavily affected.
And from those three key stakeholders, like you say, the employees, the IT managers, the employees, how can hosted phone systems support them in working from home? How can they how can hosted phone systems what difference does it make?
So how's the host phone system support like a hybrid approach to working? I suppose is what we're saying. Well, it's the mobile device is typically now the only device that's really needed. You know, if we take a mobile device, so we take my mobile, I can make traditional calls. I can set up voice conferences. I can video call and hold collaboration sessions. I can instant message all employees across a secure application. And I can see all of the employees' availability and presence. When you add that in addition to a laptop, put simply, works where you work is nothing but a choice. And we're not becoming a concern. Business owners and management can now support their employees from anywhere, report on their employees' productivity levels, which previously they may not have had the visibility to. They can visually collaborate and instant message at any time. And what is becoming more important for businesses, they can record everything, video and voice, to reflect, review, learn and progress. A hosted phone system supports most, if not all, flavors of working.
We're over to Ben now. 8x8 is a hosted phone system. What in particular features of 8x8 make it so beneficial to people?
Sure, yeah, and I think that's a really good question, and there's probably various ways you could unpack that, looking at it from the big picture stuff to the little features, and also looking at it from the point of view of the different kind of stakeholders that Ram's just identified, be it employees, end users, the IT guys, or the the kind of business owner. So first of all, 8x8, it's a flexible solution with mix and match licensing options, which means obviously straight away, maximum cost efficiency for the business owner, which is more key now than it ever has been. And beyond that, some of the big picture stuff, it's a single application, right? So you've got your calls, your messaging, your meetings, your file sharing, your call recordings, if that's something that's a requirement for you, all in the same place. It's one application for the end user to navigate, and therefore one application for the IT guys to manage. And because of that as well, you've got the benefit of the fact that it's a single place, so it's a single source of information from an analytics and metadata point of view, which businesses are increasingly obsessed with, never more so than now, where they physically can't manage their employees, micromanage them, perhaps if they used to do that, having to rely on reports to see people's presence, to get a sense of people's activities, missed calls that have come into the business, all those kind of things that you get with 8x8 in one place. It's really easy for those people to do that. But then, other than that, there are the kind of the small things. So one of the major ones in that area would be, we've a really low barrier to entry with 8x8. So using the 8x8 application to make a HD quality audio call, you need 95 kilobits a second to do that. Ram was just talking then, and he's absolutely right about the requirements for bandwidth and that kind of struggle that was going on, especially like you said in the typical family home that might have multiple kids working from home, doing schoolwork from home. If not, they're watching Netflix, they're playing on gaming online, parents both online as well. The fact that 8x8 can give you a HD quality call on less than 0.1 meg, even on a family's minimal internet connection that was never planned and designed to be put under this kind of stress, they've got the kind of benefit that they've got everything that they need there. And they're going to be able to make those calls confidently. The other plus side is around the employee experience, I think, with 8x8. There's lots of little things that tie into that. So, we want to make a home worker who maybe is used to being able to rely on a colleague to ask a question, or God forbid you're a new starter who's joined the business during the pandemic, it can be quite scary. There's a lot of sense of isolation, right? So with 8x8, you can tie your presence into your meeting options. You can tie your your calls by department when you're transferring them through. So if somebody calls through, hi, I need to speak to somebody in billing. Oh no, I don't know anybody in billing. I've only been here for 3 weeks. You can't just pop that person on hold and say, to your colleague, hey, who do I need to put this person through to? But you can with 8x8 see, a contacts directory by department, see in real time who's available, drop them a quick IM, or send them a warm transfer to get through to somebody straight through there. Likewise, we have the ability to search on the system, for keywords back to the chat history. So again, if you're part of a team, a particular topic, stock of a certain item was being discussed, or project timelines and updated timelines for something that somebody's now calling into, rather than giving the panic when someone asks you that question, it's really easy for you to just pop into the chat, find the thread that was being discussed on, and search back through to find the information and relay that to the person on the other end of the phone. The other thing that's really key and really beneficial about 8x8 is that the experience for the end user is absolutely the same across any device. So Ram was talking just then about a mobile. You can work from a mobile, you can work from a PC, you can use a desk phone when you're in the office, or you can use a combination of all three and feasibly flip and work, even with a live call, move it from one to the other in real time. One additional thing that in Ram's imaginary friend, Peter, I think his name was, his case, you've been able to use what we call the 8x8 Connect feature. So using his physical home phone, his landline home phone that he's way more comfortable using because it's an actual plastic handset, he can use that as an endpoint on the 8x8 system for the days where he's working remotely as well. So it's just little things like that I think, besides our owning all our own technology and our security and things like that really help people to to kind of keep going and stay positive during this time where we're not really sure what the future necessarily holds. And obviously the IT guys comfortable in the fact that anything that they do need to make, any changes, any management, any assistance they need to provide, they can do that in real time by logging into just a browser-based application where they have access to the whole system through the 8x8 admin console.
So there's a lot of features there then. If someone's looking for a hosted phone system, say Ram's friend Peter there, he's looking for a hosted phone system, he wants to partner with someone who's going to be able to provide this, what should they be looking for?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things, and obviously different businesses are going to have different requirements based on, specifically what they need. I would always say, the best thing to do is obviously to have a conversation with, your technology partner, your UK IT networks, about, how you work, the people who know you, and how you can definitely make sure that you're ticking all your boxes. But certainly there are a few things that will be categorically the same across the board. So one of those would be, reliability and quality. Kind of sounds a silly thing to say, but, ultimately the two things that you need most, right, is a phone system. You need it to be able to make calls whenever you need to make calls, and it needs to sound good. It needs to be good quality when it comes through, on the system. Two things that obviously 8x8 is well known as market leaders in the space for. Beyond that, flexibility, both in terms of being able to work from anywhere at a moment's notice, just being able to operate from a mobile app that can do everything. That's not an afterthought, that you don't have to combine with actually having PC access if you're a remote worker, or you're a person whose job moves you from place to place at short notice and you need to travel light. And then also another key thing is security. Being able to trust in the platform that you're using, especially today's concerns around data breaches, GDPR, all those kind of things. Having a platform where that there's no third parties that are having access to your metadata, everything's being stored in a data center that is compliant with your industry's requirements, and knowing that even if there's scope to kind of pivot these things going forward, that you've got a provider that can offer flexibility around that kind of thing as well. Another thing that I think is going to be really key, and if it's not something that's already on people's list, it should be, is trying to look for somebody that can do everything, a one-stop shop. Because ultimately, when to say something won't ever go wrong is perhaps naive, it's certainly wishful thinking. Things do go wrong with the system, whether it's user errors, whether it's issues with users' abilities to do things, or actual errors on the system. There's going to be times where people need to get in touch, for assistance, for support. Having that frustrating process of not knowing where to start because you've got multiple providers who provide all the different pieces of your solution, or having a provider that white labels parts of their solution. So when you call up, they tell you, oh, actually that's not us, that's XYZ, you need to get in touch with those guys. I think that definitely from a management point of view, having that single provider as a one-stop shop for everything is something that business owners and IT professionals are definitely going to be prioritizing.
And Ram, just on the other side of that, as the managing director of UKIT Networks, why was it 8x8 you decided to partner up with?
Can we just repeat back what Ben said for the last 17 minutes? Because it was a pretty good pitch, actually. So we'll just take that bit and I'll try and be really short with my answer. So UKIT Networks has been providing hosted telephony since 2012. I think it's really important to mention that from 2012, we have worked with some great UK-based phone system providers, of which we've got embedded in a lot of our clients. What it was with 8x8 and our relationship with 8x8 has only sort of span out over the last 30 months. There was a requirement within our business to partner with a hosted network that provided scalability and give us as a telco the ability for our clients to be able to scale them from making a simple call to offering a fully fledged omni-channel contact center solution, which was seamless in the transition and didn't involve us having to integrate lots of different partners to achieve it. That's one of the beauties of the 8x8 model, is that how you scale between the different license type is really appealing to our clients, and they can see their business grow and how the 8x8 phone system fits within that. Also, 8x8 have got a global network reach, and our customers are extending internationally. We've got clients in lots of countries overseas, and with 8x8 we can now reach them, whereas previously we were restricted to predominantly the UK. Integration is required today, and I don't know whether people on sort of listening to this call will agree, but businesses want to integrate everything. Customers want one platform and they want APIs for everything, and 8x8 supports that with multiple APIs and great supporting documentation to be able to achieve that. So, and finally, perhaps most importantly, security. Security was becoming more of a concern, and especially with COVID, people working from home. I think pre-COVID, I was reading a report the other day. We said pre-COVID there was 6% of employees that worked from home full time, and during the first lockdown that went up to 45% or 46%, I think it was, which is massive, and what that created is vulnerabilities. But security was becoming more of a concern. There are very few partners that have achieved 8x8's level of advanced security certification. So for those reasons, 8x8 was a really good choice for us. A lot of businesses might be asking, well, why don't we just go direct to 8x8? Why do we need UKIT Networks as a reseller? And I think as a reseller in the telco industry, that's a conversation I have, and I'm sure a lot of our competitors have on a week-by-week basis. As a reseller, we take market-leading technologies and we offer them to our customers as a single solution. Just to quote what Ben said. A typical client may have between 3 and 5 suppliers to provide their telecoms requirements, maybe one for phone, one for internet, one for inbound or SMS. Whereas with UKIT Networks, we provide all those solutions and they have one supplier. That's one single point of contact. That's one customer-focused supplier. That's one UK support desk, and ultimately one throat to choke. Obviously, hosted is fully dependent on connectivity on internet, and we've been providing connectivity as part of our core offering since 2012. So when one of our clients gives us a call and says, look, we have an issue, regardless of whether it's their 8x8, their hosted telephony, or their connectivity, it's our problem. And we'll take it off their hands and we'll look to escalate and resolve. Our offering to all of our customers is to see UKIT Networks and our support desk and our account management team as an extension of their IT team.
And with that, Ram, you've recently, as UKIT Networks, helped Inspired Energy to migrate to a hosted phone system like you say, getting them all under one platform. We've got a short presentation here. Do you want to speak us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Peter didn't work for Inspired, by the way. Peter's got a lot of limelight in this webinar. He's done a great job, so he can thank me later. So Inspired Energy have been a customer since 2014. We originally started out providing their internet connectivity and some PSTN services. Up until COVID, there was no appetite by their business to move from their on-prem solutions that they had or inherited through acquisition. They wanted to sweat their assets, which we understood. And then during the first lockdown came, there was an immediate requirement to change, and Inspired wanted to take their 250 staff head office at Kirkham and move it home working like a lot of businesses did. They wanted to work as effectively as they did in the office, but there was a challenge right there. Their phone system didn't support it. The UCART Networks, and this wasn't me, this was the team at UCART Networks, so our support desk, our account management team, our provisioning guys, the project managers, they worked with the team at Inspired, and 4 weeks from start to finish, we had their team working from home effectively using the 8x8 solution. Inspired as a business, they've got an aggressive acquisition growth strategy, and we've seen multiple acquisitions in 2020. With each acquisition, there was typically between 3 and 5 telephony related suppliers that we inherited, and we had to then source and solve through. And the guys that Inspired in their IT management team, Nick, Jack, and Andy, they've got a military approach to efficiency. Great bunch of guys that know exactly what they want and how they want to work it. And merging these sites into their global 8x8 system has been really straightforward and very effective for them and our team. So taken away, by moving them onto hosted, we've taken away the physical need for an office, and we've given Inspired the flexibility, the reassurance, and resilience that 8x8 really is a phone system that will grow as aggressively as their business strategy. So still need to work out who that chap is at Inspired, because I'm not sure I know him. But yeah, Fraser, I just noted a few questions that came up in the chat. I think one of the points was about training available. Ben, do you just want to touch upon the available documentation from 8x8 and how just how readily available it is to be able to support businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we provide. I mean, there's a few layers to the 8x8 training that we provide, and it's kind of dependent on the different services that you're interested in. But as a blanket rule of thumb, we provide free online training through the 8x8 University, which is just interactive guides, step by steps, as well as like an adoption kit for any users, which is a very detailed, set of kind of e-learning materials that they can do. This is both for end users and for, kind of system admins. Beyond that, we do offer a bit more in terms of hands-on stuff that we can provide, for things like the contact center solution that we offer the administrators for that. Or, if you have like a load of end users that need to be trained on how to use 8x8 in relation to a specific integration, like a CRM or something like that, we do run more of like an intensive crash course type thing. Obviously, at this point in time, they're all virtually instructor led, but historically they could have been, delivered on site, at a customer's office if they wished. There's quite a lot of flexibility there, but yeah, certainly we give people the basics, readily available, and that's something that they can access directly through the application in their user profile. There's a link to the free training videos within there.
I think it's worth just adding onto that, Ben, as well, that for every client that UCART Networks sort of on board onto 8x8, sort of training is provided by our support desk and project management team. Whilst the platform is very intuitive and you can go on there and clients do go on there without training, just choose to skip it, do go on there and can make calls and set up video conferences and everything else. Training is provided to each and every client that's on board. I just noticed that was one of the questions.
Yeah, Ben, do you want to speak just to finalise about what the future of hosted phone systems might be, about where it's sort of heading?
Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely give you what some of my thoughts are. I think it's difficult really to say, right? Certainly nobody would have said in 2019 that we were all going to go from 6%. I think Ram said 6% of us working from home to 46%. You know, things like that really do come along and are kind of out of our control, and people have to adapt, right? But you know, in a lot of ways, as awful as this has been in lots of ways, it has been really interesting in the sense that it has um, kind of accelerated, you know, people's movements to more, you know, flexible hosted systems, and it certainly put the fire under the, you know, the people within our space that this is really something that people are going to care about, you know, perhaps more than they ever have done over the next few years. So it's definitely an area of interest. For me, I would say, you know, so the future is going to be pushing, people are going to be pushing towards like a unified experience, right? So it needs to be versatile and it needs to be flexible, both in terms of, yeah, working from anywhere on any device, but also having, you know, the option to scale up to add, you know, functionality as and when it's required, to give different teams different functionality depending on their role, but, you know, keep it from the same solution and all in the same place. I think integrating with key business systems, you know, Office 365 and G Suite, CRM systems, other, you know, other tools, collaboration tools, things that people are going to be using, so that, you know, the idea is, again, this idea of this employee experience, the you know, the end user, the agent, the, you know, the customer service rep, whatever their role is, having to flick between as few windows as possible, having them have to do as little, you know, manual inputting of like call detail records or making notes and things like that, logging calls, you know, raising tickets that are associated with, you know, calls or with contacts in those kind of environments as well. I think that's going to be something that is going to be really heavily relied on in the future. And I think that, you know, giving customers, giving end users, giving IT professionals, you know, as much power as they can in terms of, yeah, being able to manage their own systems, being able to easily access all the different kind of, you know, tools and ways that they're going to want to communicate, you know, themselves, being able to have instantaneous access to that, and, you know, not having to raise a ticket with, you know, a third party and wait, or, you know, you supply directly and wait for, you know, even a 24-hour SLA. You know, it is not a long time, right? But if it's something that's quick and easy and that an IT professional is competent and comfortable to do, you know, there should be no reason why that person can't just log on to the system and you know, make a change to, you know, a user's information or a call group allocation or the message that's coming through when customers are calling into them. I think this idea of, you know, making it as easy as possible for everybody to work wherever they are, breaking down the barriers that separate work and home, like Ram said, you know, work's going to be just something that you do now rather than a physical location. And yeah, having everything integrated to have, you know, minimal amount of managing different systems and inputting information or sharing information manually from one platform to another. I think those are all things that are going to be more important as time goes on.
Yeah, I think as people have been working from home more, they've realised the importance of this kind of system, about the efficiency and the integration of different systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw. I mean, you know, it's one of those things. It was a while ago now, but because I'm that kind of person that reads, you know, UC Today in my spare time now. That's who I've become during the lockdown. But you know, I saw something that said, I think it was in there that you know, and it's systems that are integrated can save, you know, at the end user something like 10 hours a week in terms of, you know, their time back from having to log stuff through, having to raise tickets, having to do things like that. So I think that's going to be something that, yeah, people prioritize their time more than you know, than they ever have done before. Especially now that the expectation that we are working from home, there's that temptation to, like, you know, erode the kind of work-life balance. So I think that's going to be something that people care a lot about going forward.
I think what we don't know at the moment, Ben, is what, you know, what it's going to look like in 12 to 18 months time after businesses, you know, we know that clients or businesses are investing into allowing their staff to work from home full time. Some businesses are seeing that that's not a fit. I think what we may see immediately is people embracing home working and really pushing it out there, and then in 12 to 18 months time actually seeing some businesses return back to either a more of a blended solution or a more of a working from an office environment. We take into consideration the concerns. We speak well-being's a hot topic at the moment. Lots of people are talking about it. I think it's really important. You have people that focus on the efficiency of staff working from home, but I think there's also the opposite. What about the staff that don't know when to switch off, that don't know when to stop and work till 10 o'clock at night and then end up being burnt out? So that's a concern. I think the knowledge gap is something that's highly, is going to become more of an issue. But what's important is, regardless of how the industry looks in 12 to 18 months time, regardless of where businesses are working, a hosted solution will support their decision.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you just touched upon, the uncertainty, kind of is part of the point, right? Is we can't say whether it's going to go back exactly how it was. It probably won't. I think what probably is most likely to happen is that it'll be that blended environment of kind of a mix between the two, where people split time between the office and home. There'll be people who, for whatever reason, would prefer to do more days in the office. There'll be people who, for obvious reasons, might prefer to work from home. Or I think the idea is that whatever people want to do and whatever direction the businesses and the business owners are going to want to pivot in, having a system that is flexible enough to accommodate that and allows them to kind of roll with the punches and kind of think on their feet in that sense. And to give individual users and individual teams the flexibility to have it their own way, right? I think that's going to be something that will be definitely a priority for a lot of people when they're looking at who they're going to partner with for these types of services going forward.
Yeah, no, agreed. Absolutely.
You mentioned, Ben, about integration with different systems. We've had a question from Christoph. Can you just speak about what integrations are available for different CRMs, for example?
Yeah, so there's lots is the short answer. Let me see if I can get some. Just off the top of my head, things like Salesforce CRM systems, like Salesforce, HubSpot, Sugar. Things like NetSuite and Zendesk. Even integrations into things like the people who are already invested into things like Microsoft Teams. 8x8 has an integration into Microsoft Teams that allows you to keep the Teams front end that your staff who maybe you had to drag kicking and screaming into using a UC application have now got used to using. You can have the front end from Teams with the kind of, the beneficial technology and additional functionality that you get from 8x8 integrated that way as well. What I would say is, there's a comprehensive list of the 8x8 integrations that's available on our website. So if there's something specific that people are looking for, obviously that they can reach out to you guys, and we're happy to go through that with them. But equally, they can check out the integrations page on 8x8's website as well, if they've got a specific CRM or ERP or something like that they are looking to find out if we integrate with.
Yeah, I think apart from the heavily customized CRMs where they've had them built in-house, over the last 30 months, I can't think of a CRM. One of the main CRMs really that we haven't been able to integrate with on the 8x8 solution. So,
yeah, absolutely. Dynamics, Pipedrive, even things like Copper and Freshdesk, which aren't massively used here in the UK, but because we're a global company, you do get that benefit where we do have international clientele. Zendesk and Zoho. Being able to integrate into things like Okta for single sign-on and authentication. Integrate into your as we talked about before, your Google kind of shared space or your Office 365 accounts as well. There's loads of stuff that 8x8 can do in that kind of regard. So anybody that's interested, definitely reach out to the UK IT Networks team, and we'd be happy to go through that with you in a bit more detail.
And there's just one final question from Amy here. How easy is it to onboard with 8x8?
Well, I can probably put that up actually, Ben. So, very simple is the honest answer. If anyone that's used hosted phone systems, the onboarding process with 8x8 is as straightforward as probably any hosted platform that I've seen. We can get clients set up with very little information. Everything that we that we provide our clients with, they can do themselves. So, they can configure the users, they can get them access. The typical turnaround is sort of 2 to 3 working days to have users added or an account set up. Support's on hand from our provisioning department. As I said, for a client that wants to have training, it's there for them. All of our training currently is provided remotely due to COVID restrictions. However, we're looking forward to getting back out and providing some on-site sort of project management and training on when we can, when it's safe to do so. So, in a nutshell, how easy to onboard with 8x8? Really, very straightforward for businesses. The most difficult part of any moving to any hosted phone system is number porting, which is an absolute nightmare in our industry. And they really somebody needs to be shot at Ofcom without prejudice. But yeah, the number porting is a bit of a nightmare. But once we've overcome that, actually getting the account set up, getting a user online making calls is very simple.
And yeah, just to kind of pitch in there, obviously the benefit to somebody like 8x8 is, we have a dedicated team for those kind of things. So as much as that is as Ram accurately pointed, sometimes a bit of a challenge, you do have the kind of added benefit of knowing that, all you have to do is provide some detail on the numbers and sign the industry required forms, and then as much of the headache as there is, a lot of it is then kind of outsourced to 8x8 and the UK IT network guys. So we'll kind of deal with that for you. And it's worth pointing out, Ramazan, not a lot of people realize, right, that, the way 8x8 works, you can use the system in the gap. We have the ability to provide temporary numbers. People have this idea that number porting taking 2 weeks or 28 days means that their numbers are out of operation and floating up in the ether for that time. That's not the case. Obviously, it's just that that's the process, the hoops that we have to jump through to get those numbers moved across. But as you guys will be well aware, there's lots of instances where customers can be using the 8x8 system with temporary numbers in the short term, so they're still getting the benefit from it, and then the numbers port when they port, and they just map in over the top where they've been preset.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a fair point. Yeah, so setting up number diverts on the previous numbers to point to temporary numbers in the 8x8 system whilst the porting process goes on is just a standard part of transitioning. So yeah, sorry, my earlier point, there's not that there's downtime. I'm talking about a logistical nightmare for the team at UK IT Networks and 8x8 to get the numbers moved. From a customer's point of view, it's very straightforward, but just very frustrating how long it takes.
Sure.
Brilliant, and that about wraps it up. Thank you both very much for joining us. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. You can head to our website, ukitnetworks.com. You can find more information about the 8x8 system and everything else that we offer. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar will be uploaded to the website as well. And you can also follow our socials for updates on our latest offers, on our work with 8x8, and about any other webinars that we'll be holding in the future.
Excellent work, Fraser. Good to see you again, Ben.
Yeah, pleasure, guys. Thank you for having us.
All right, take care.
Hope you have a good afternoon.
Cheers, Fraser.